Battle of the Beans, Monsanto faces a fight for soy market. Rivals BASF say, BASF and Dow DuPont, DWDP.N, are preparing to push their own varieties of genetically modified soybeans. At stake is control over seed supply for the next generation of farmers producing the most valuable U.S. agricultural export. The market has opened up as Monsanto's Roundup Ready line of seeds, engineered to tolerate the weed killer glyphosate, has lost effectiveness as weeds develop their own tolerance to the chemical. Compounding the firm's troubles is a national scandal over crop damage linked to its new soybean and herbicide pairing Roundup Ready 2-stand seeds, engineered to resist the chemical dicamba. The newly competitive sector has sown confusion across the U.S. Farm Belt, particularly among smaller firms that produce and sell seeds with technology licensed from the agrichemical giants. Many of these sellers told Reuters they are amassing a surplus of seeds with engineered traits from multiple developers, at substantial extra cost, because they can only guess which product farmers will buy. Our job is to meet our customers' needs, and we don't know what those are going to be, said Carl Peterson, president of Peterson Farm Seed near Fargo, North Dakota. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. Monsanto has much to lose. Soybeans are the key ingredient in feed used to fatten the world's cattle, pigs, chickens and fish. Net sales of Monsanto's soybean seeds and traits totaled almost $2.7 billion in fiscal 2017, or about a fifth of its total net sales. Gross profits from soybean products climbed 35% over 2016, beating 15% growth of its bigger corn seed franchise. The firm faces multiple lawsuits, along with regulatory restrictions in some U.S. states, because dicamba has drifted onto neighboring farms and fields and damaged crops not genetically modified to resist it. For a graphic on weeds growing resistance to farming herbicides, click TMSNRT. rs/2dgzxhf. For a map on Monsanto's crop damage crisis, click TMSNRT. rs/2zx. BASF and Dow DuPont, however, have their own obstacles to overcome, fueling unprecedented uncertainty among farmers over which seeds they will plant on an estimated 90 million acres of U.S. farmland this spring. BASF is just entering the market, aiming to compete with an older soybean line called Liberty Link, which the firm is acquiring from Bayer AG, Bain.Da. Dow DuPont is eager to join the fray but needs approval from Chinese regulators before it can broadly market and sell its new soybean product, Enlist E3. Monsanto declined comment to Reuters on competition from rivals in the soybean market. But the firm has previously acknowledged the intensifying threat to its bottom line as rivals launch new products. Our competitors' success could render our existing products less competitive, resulting in reduced sales compared to our expectations or past results, Monsanto said in an annual report filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission last year. Dicamba disaster. The name of Monsanto's new dicamba-based herbicide, Max with vapor grip, reflects the problem it tries to solve: the chemical's tendency to vaporize and drift to neighboring fields, damaging crops. But last summer, after farmers planted Monsanto's new dicamba-resistant seeds en masse, the herbicide damaged an estimated 3.6 million acres of soybeans, or 4% of all U.S. plantings. Monsanto maintains its new formulation of dicamba reduces drift effectively. It blames farmers for not following spraying instructions and for illegally applying older versions of dicamba on MON.N seeds. Despite the controversy, MON.N soybeans have sold briskly, spanning 20 million U.S. acres in 2017, their second year of sales. Monsanto projects that acreage will double this year, accounting for about 44% of all planted acres. Still, Monsanto faces a slew of regulatory, legal and public relations challenges from the crop damage crisis. Regulators in Arkansas, where crops were heavily damaged in 2017, have prohibited the use of dicamba-based herbicides between dates that likely will cover the entire growing season. Missouri, Minnesota and North Dakota have also restricted when farmers can spray dicamba. Missouri farmer Bobby Aycock joined one of several class action lawsuits against Monsanto after dicamba spraying by nearby farmers damaged his crops in 2016. He then planted MON.N in 2017 to ensure that drifting dicamba could not harm his crop again. He found another benefit at harvest time: his highest yield in 33 years of soybean farming. Despite his lawsuit against Monsanto, Aycock plans to sow MON.N seeds again this spring. "If something's working," he said, "I hate to change it." Bass fenders bin battle. BASF is waiting for Monsanto and Bayer to close their proposed $63.5 billion merger before it can take over Bayer's Liberty Link brand of seeds, which are engineered to withstand the chemical glufosinate. The timing of the takeover, expected in the spring planting season, is awkward because farmers may have already bought seeds. BASF aims to prevent any customer disruption when it assumes control of the Liberty Link brand as part of a $7 billion deal with Bayer, BASF Vice President Scott Kay said in an interview. BASF declined to elaborate further on its strategy because the purchase of Liberty Link is not yet completed. The acquisition complements BASF's herbicide business with a seed line that should continue to grow profitably, BASF's outgoing chief executive Kurt Bock said in October. Bayer has sold Liberty Link in the United States since 2009, steadily gaining market share to reach about 15%, said Rob Schrick, who runs North American corn and soy strategy for Bayer. The company expects the brand to capture 20% of the market in 2018. BASF had a strategic urgency in the Liberty Link acquisition, said Patrick Jenk, portfolio manager at Deka Investments, which owns BASF stock. The Bayer seed assets were not a bargain, Jenk said. But the purchase eliminates the risk of being the only major supplier in the agro-business without a seeds offering. Wild card from DowDuPont. DowDuPont faces the greatest obstacle in the fight for soybean market share because it is waiting for Chinese regulators to approve imports of soybeans harvested from its Enlist E3 seeds.